Good morning, I'm Remo. Breaking overnight. 91 students still trapped beneath rubble in Indonesia after a school collapse killed 3 and injured over 100. This is the Daily Signal for October 2nd, 2025.
Unfiltered. Now,
Here are the other top stories for October 2nd, 2025. Philippine earthquake death toll climbs to 72 as rescue operations continue across multiple provinces. Israeli naval forces intercept Gaza-bound flotilla carrying humanitarian supplies in Mediterranean waters. France boards suspected Russian drone tanker in English Channel amid growing maritime tensions. Trump signs executive order pledging to defend Qatar following reported Israeli military strike. Bomb threat forces evacuation and delays at Munich's Oktoberfest celebration. President Macron publicly opposes EU's controversial drone wall proposal for border security. Israel issues final evacuation warning to Gaza City residents, calling it their last opportunity. Ukraine reports attack on Chernobyl nuclear facility. Zelensky calls it a global threat. Afghans celebrate nationwide as internet service returns after Taliban imposed communications blackout. Now let's dive into each story. We begin with heartbreak in Indonesia, where time is running out for 91 students still trapped beneath concrete and steel. The Al-Khozini Islamic boarding school in East Java collapsed during Monday prayers, and here's what makes this tragedy even worse. The building was illegally expanded without permits. What started as a 2-story structure had been expanded to 4 stories with no structural oversight. When hundreds of teenage boys gathered for afternoon prayers on September 29th, the building couldn't handle the weight. 3 students are confirmed dead. Over 100 are injured. But the devastating number is 91. That's how many children are still missing, still believed trapped in the rubble. Abdul Mahari from Indonesia's disaster agency says 91 people are suspected to be buried based on school attendance records. One father, Abdul Hanan, whose 14-year-old son is missing, told reporters, "We believe our children might still be alive because they were crying for help." The rescue operation must be accelerated. We are racing against time now. More than 300 rescue personnel are working around the clock, but unstable debris is hampering efforts. They did pull one survivor from the ruins yesterday, giving families hope. Why this matters? This tragedy exposes dangerous gaps in building safety enforcement across Indonesia, where rapid development often occurs without proper oversight. Similar collapses could happen anywhere. Regulations aren't strictly enforced. Meanwhile, in the Philippines, the death toll from a powerful earthquake has risen to 72 as rescue teams reach remote areas. The quake struck multiple provinces, triggering landslides and collapsing buildings across the disaster-prone archipelago. Emergency response teams are still searching for survivors in mountainous regions where communication remains cut off. Hospitals in affected areas report being overwhelmed with injured victims. This earthquake adds to the Philippines' already devastating year of natural disasters. The country sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire, making it one of the world's most earthquake-prone nations. Why this matters? These disasters highlight the urgent need for improved building codes and disaster preparedness in vulnerable regions. With climate change intensifying natural disasters globally, the Philippines serves as a stark reminder of what other nations could face. In related developments from the Middle East, Israeli naval forces intercepted a Gaza-bound flotilla in international waters. The vessels were reportedly carrying humanitarian supplies to the blockaded territory. This interception comes amid escalating tensions in the region. Details are still emerging about the number of vessels involved and whether any injuries occurred during the operation. Such maritime confrontations have historically drawn international condemnation and raised questions about the legality of Gaza's naval blockade under international law. Why this matters? These incidents often spark diplomatic crises and can escalate regional tensions, potentially drawing in international mediators and affecting global shipping routes. Speaking of maritime tensions, French authorities boarded a suspected Russian drone tanker in the English Channel. This dramatic action signals escalating concerns about Russian surveillance operations near European waters. The vessel was reportedly operating sophisticated drone equipment, raising questions about intelligence gathering activities. French officials have not yet released details about what they discovered aboard the tanker. This boarding comes as European nations increase vigilance against potential Russian espionage and sabotage operations. Why this matters: maritime law enforcement actions between NATO allies and Russia could escalate into broader diplomatic confrontations, potentially affecting energy supplies and shipping security. In a surprising foreign policy move, President Trump signed an executive order vowing to defend Qatar following reports of an Israeli military strike. This unprecedented action raises questions about shifting Middle Eastern alliances. The executive order pledges military support to Qatar, a move that could complicate existing U.S. relationships in the region. Qatar hosts major U.S. military installations and serves as a key diplomatic mediator. Details about the reported Israeli strike remain unclear, but Trump's response suggests significant behind-the-scenes diplomatic maneuvering. Why this matters: this could represent a major realignment of United States Middle East policy, potentially affecting relationships with traditional allies and regional stability. Security concerns disrupted Munich's famous Oktoberfest celebration after authorities received a credible bomb threat. The popular festival was temporarily evacuated as bomb disposal teams swept the area. Thousands of visitors were safely evacuated while authorities investigated the threat. The festival resumed after security teams declared the area safe. This incident highlights ongoing security challenges for major international events in an era of heightened terrorism concerns. Why this matters: attacks on cultural celebrations can have profound psychological effects and economic impacts on tourism-dependent cities worldwide. French President Emmanuel Macron publicly criticized the European Union's proposed drone wall for border security, calling the plan technically unfeasible and politically divisive. The controversial proposal would create an automated surveillance barrier using drone technology along EU external borders. Supporters argue it would enhance security, while critics worry about human rights implications. Macron's opposition could derail the initiative, as France remains one of the EU's most influential member states on security matters. Why this matters: this debate reflects broader tensions within Europe about balancing security concerns with humanitarian obligations and civil liberties. Israeli authorities issued what they called a last opportunity for Gaza City residents to evacuate before potential military operations. The ultimatum affects hundreds of thousands of Palestinian civilians. This warning suggests Israel may be preparing for expanded military action in Gaza City. International humanitarian organizations have expressed alarm about the potential displacement of civilians. Previous evacuation orders have led to massive displacement and humanitarian crises in the already overcrowded territory. Why this matters: such ultimatums often precede significant military escalations, potentially leading to increased casualties and regional instability. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky called an attack cutting power to the Chernobyl nuclear plant a global threat to international security. The facility houses radioactive materials from the 1986 disaster. Power cuts to nuclear facilities raise concerns about cooling systems and containment protocols. Chernobyl's compromised reactor remains a sensitive site requiring constant monitoring. International nuclear safety agencies are reportedly monitoring the situation closely and coordinating with Ukrainian authorities. Why this matters: any threat to nuclear facilities, especially damaged ones like Chernobyl, could have consequences extending far beyond national borders, potentially affecting multiple countries. Finally, some positive news from Afghanistan, where internet service returned after a Taliban-imposed communications blackout. Afghans celebrated the restoration of digital connectivity that many rely on for work and communication with family abroad. The blackout had severely impacted businesses, education, and basic communication in the isolated country. The restoration suggests possible Taliban policy shifts regarding information control. Why this matters: internet access remains crucial for economic development and human rights monitoring in restricted societies worldwide. Looking at today's stories, we see three critical themes shaping our world right now. First, Infrastructure failures are claiming lives from Indonesia to the Philippines. These tragedies expose how rapid development without proper oversight creates deadly risks. The 91 students still trapped in Indonesia remind us that building codes aren't just bureaucracy, they're life and death issues. Second, military and maritime tensions are escalating globally. From the English Channel to the Eastern Mediterranean to nuclear facilities in Ukraine, we're seeing confrontations that could spiral into larger conflicts. Finally, technology is becoming both a weapon and a lifeline. France boards ships over drone concerns, the EU debates drone walls, while Afghans celebrate restored internet access. These aren't isolated events, they're interconnected challenges requiring international cooperation. The school collapse in Indonesia affects global building safety standards. Maritime confrontations impact international shipping. Nuclear threats concern us all. Here's what matters most. Today's local disasters become tomorrow's global precedents. The solutions we develop now will determine how we handle similar crises later. That's your daily signal for October 2nd, 2025. I'm Remo. Stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll see you tomorrow with the stories shaping your world.
Unfiltered.